On this week's 2-minute tip, we're talking about green onions. So as far back as I can remember growing up, seems like in the spring, anytime we had a good home-cooked meal or maybe a fish fry, we always had some green onions on the table. Now, green onions are these immature little onions here that are just starting the bulbing stage. So those bulbs on them are just starting to swell up a little bit, and these things are something we look forward to every spring. Now, we won't pull all of our onions at this size. We'll leave most of them in the ground to continue getting bigger through spring, and that's what we'll harvest and dry out as our storage onions. I've got my onion jungle behind me here, and as I mentioned earlier, these things are just starting to bulb, and I've got 5 rows of these Texas Legend and 1 row of these Red Creoles. It's been pretty dry around here lately, and this time of year is when that drip tape really pays off. You almost can't give these things enough water. In fact, I let the drip run all night on them last night, and they'll be just fine and suck it all up in no time. They say the sweetness of the onion is determined by how much water you give it. So if you give them plenty of water, you can expect them to be nice and sweet. And we've been able to keep the weeds managed pretty well. We take our single wheel hoe and go there and cultivate between those double rows. And then once every couple weeks, I'll get in there with my short single tine cultivator and kind of do some meticulous weeding and pluck out those weeds within that double row. When we planted these onions, we planted them pretty close on about 4-inch spacing. And we did that so we'd have plenty of green onions in spring. So this time of year, what I do is I just go in there and I pull out every other onion. So that's going to give us plenty of green onions to eat, and it's also going to provide some more room for those onions that we leave in the ground to get that real big softball size. So when you're planting your onions, make sure you plant a few extra so you can have some nice green onions in spring. These things make a great addition to any stir fry. You can use them in soups, or you can just eat them raw out here by the garden. I hope you enjoyed this week's 2-minute tip. We'll see you next time.